Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where pocket change meets hidden treasure. If you've ever found an old penny and wondered if it was worth more than its face value, you're in for a treat today. Because the story we're about to uncover starts with a humble 1-cent coin, but might just end with something you won't believe. Today, we're talking about the 1952 Lincoln Wheat penny. A coin so ordinary on the surface, yet so rich in history, detail, and potential value that it could quietly be one of the biggest hidden gems in American currency. Let's take a step back. It's the year 1952. The United States is deep into the post-World War II boom. The Korean War is ongoing. Dwight D. Eisenhower has just been elected president. America is changing fast, cars are getting sleeker, TVs are filling living rooms, and the economy is roaring. While all of that is happening, the U.S. Mint is producing millions of pennies for everyday use, coins that people would use for a bottle of soda, a newspaper, or a gumball, and that's when this little copper coin enters the scene. The Lincoln Wheat penny had already become a fixture in American life. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and not just any person, but one of the most iconic presidents in history. Victor David Brenner's design has remained legendary ever since. On the obverse side of the 1952 penny, you'll see a detailed profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Surrounding him are the words, "In God We Trust," at the top, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1952, to the right. Just below the date, you might notice a small letter, either a D or an S. That's the mint mark, indicating where the coin was made. D stands for Denver, and S stands for San Francisco. If there's no letter at all, the coin came from the Philadelphia Mint. Now flip the coin over and take in the iconic wheat reverse, the two stalks curving around 1 cent and United States of America. At the very top is the timeless Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. This side of the coin is what gives it the nickname, Wheat Penny, and it remains a favorite among collectors for its classic, symmetrical beauty. Now you might be wondering, if millions of these coins were made, what makes the 1952 Wheat Penny special? The answer lies in a combination of condition, mint mark, and something collectors love to chase, errors. Let's start with condition. The vast majority of 1952 pennies were used and abused. They clinked in lunch counters, rolled around in glove boxes, were handed from one generation to another without much thought. Most have been scratched, worn, or corroded. But a select few, very few, have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. These are the coins that were never used, never passed around, and were preserved from the day they left the mint. Collectors call these mint state coins, and they're graded on a scale that goes all the way up to MS 70. A 1952 penny graded MS 65 or higher, especially with a bright red copper tone and flawless details, is already worth far more than 1 cent. But we're just getting started. Now let's talk about mint errors. Sometimes, coins come out of the mint with fascinating mistakes, strikes that are off-center, double impressions of the date or letters, or even repunched mint marks. These kinds of errors turn a regular coin into a one-of-a-kind rarity. One of the most exciting errors collectors look for on the 1952 penny is a double die, where the coin was struck twice by the die, creating a subtle but visible shadow effect, especially in the lettering or the date. Another is a repunched mint mark, where the small d or s was punched into the die more than once, resulting in a slight doubling that's visible under magnification. And then there are the true oddities, coins struck on the wrong planchet, or with off-metal compositions. For example, if a 1952 penny was mistakenly struck on a leftover steel blank from the 1943 wartime cents, it would be magnetic and instantly valuable. These are extremely rare but do exist. So what should you be looking for? First, check your 1952 penny for its mint mark. Philadelphia, no mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, all produced coins that year, with Denver making the most. But remember, the value lies not just in the mint but in the condition and any unusual features. If you've got a penny that still shines, with sharp details in Lincoln's hair, crisp wheat lines on the reverse, and no visible signs of circulation, that's a great sign. If you notice anything unusual, doubling, odd letters, off-center stamping. It could be even better. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. While most 1952 Lincoln wheat pennies are worth just a few cents or dollars, some have shocked the collecting world by commanding premium prices at auction. Coins in flawless mint condition, especially those with rare errors and perfect eye appeal, have found their way into private collections and auction houses with values that can only be described as breathtaking. In one exceptional case, a 1952 wheat penny, carefully preserved, graded at the highest level, and featuring a rare minting error, was sold for a staggering amount. That small, ordinary-looking copper coin ended up being worth a total of $80,000. Yes, you heard right. A penny. Worth $80,000. So the next time you come across an old penny from 1952, don't just drop it in a jar or slide it across the counter. Look closely. Because hidden in that little round disc might be history, and maybe even a fortune. Today, we're going to explore a coin that many people overlook, yet in the right condition, it could change everything. We're talking about the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. Yes, that little copper coin you've probably seen 100 times. But as always in the world of numismatics, it's not about how common a coin seems, it's about what sets it apart. Let's travel back to the year 1941. The world is on the edge of transformation. World War II is raging across Europe and Asia. The United States is trying to stay out of the conflict, at least for now. It's a year before Pearl Harbor, and tensions are high. At home, the American spirit is strong. People are working hard, saving money, supporting their families, and unknowingly, slipping tiny pieces of history into their pockets, and one of those pieces was the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, by this point, the Lincoln cent had already become a beloved staple of American coinage. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the wheat penny was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. Victor David Brenner's design had already become iconic. On the obverse, or front, of the 1941 penny, you'll see that familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, facing right. Above his head is the motto, "In God We Trust," to his left is the word, "Liberty," and on the right side is the date, 1941. Just beneath the date, you might notice a small letter. That's the mint mark, and it makes a big difference. In 1941, Lincoln cents were produced at 3 different U.S. mints. If there's no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. A D indicates it came from the Denver Mint, and an S shows it was minted in San Francisco. Each of these has its own population numbers, variations, and potential collector value. Now let's flip to the reverse side of the coin. This is where the wheat design comes in. 2 stylized wheat ears curve along the left and right sides of the coin, surrounding the bold words, 1 cent and United States of America. And at the top, in small but powerful letters, the phrase, E pluribus unum, Latin for, out of many, one. That's where the coin gets its nickname, the wheat penny. So what makes the 1941 wheat penny more than just a relic of the past? Well, let's talk about mintage. In total, more than 887 million 1941 pennies were made. Philadelphia produced the majority, over 682 million. Denver struck around 128 million, and San Francisco made about 92 million. That means the 1941 penny isn't rare just because of its age. But what does make it valuable, what makes it exceptional, comes down to 3 things: condition, rarity of variants, and mint errors. Let's start with condition. The majority of 1941 pennies were used for decades. They passed through thousands of hands, rode in countless pockets, dropped into vending machines, and jingled in old coffee cans. Today, most of them are scratched, faded, and worn down, but a small number, very small, were never spent. Maybe someone stashed away a roll in a drawer. Maybe a few were collected right out of the mint. These are what collectors call uncirculated, or mint state. They've survived for over 80 years with their luster, color, and details intact. These mint state coins are where the real value starts to shine. Now let's add another layer, minting errors. In the high-speed, high-pressure world of coin production, mistakes happen. Dies can be misaligned. coins can be struck off-center. Sometimes, letters or numbers are doubled. And occasionally, a mint mark might be punched more than once, slightly off position. These are called double dies, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks. They're rare, fascinating, and highly collectible. Collectors go wild for these errors, not just because they're rare, but because they're unique. No two are exactly alike. And a 1941 penny with a prominent error can be worth many times more than even a flawless one without an error, and then there's I appeal. This is a bit more subjective, but incredibly important. Two pennies from the same year and mint can have very different values based on how attractive they are. One might have beautiful reddish copper toning, strong luster, and sharp strike details. The other might look dull, spotted, or unevenly worn. Guess which one collectors will fight over at auction? Now, let's bring it all together. Imagine this, a 1941 wheat penny from San Francisco, still glowing with its original red hue, sharp details in Lincoln's hair and jacket, strong wheat stalks on the reverse, and to top it all off, it features a rare double die error that's clearly visible without even needing magnification. That is the kind of coin collectors dream of. That is the kind of coin that sends bidding wars into the stratosphere, and in one jaw-dropping case, a coin just like this, a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, preserved in extraordinary mint condition, with a rare mint error, crossed the auction block and stunned the crowd. That single, 1-cent coin was sold for a life-changing total of $86,000, yes, you heard that correctly. $86,000, for a penny.so. If you're holding a 1941 wheat penny, especially one with a mint mark or unusual features, don't dismiss it. Take a close look. Check for errors. Look at the shine. Consider getting it professionally graded. Because that tiny piece of copper could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Today we're here to prove that even the most ordinary coin can have an extraordinary story. We're diving into a classic piece of American coinage, the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny. And trust me, you're going to want to stay until the end, because one specific version of this coin has been valued at a price that will leave you stunned. Let's start with what makes the Lincoln wheat penny such an iconic piece of U.S. history. This coin series began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Up until that point, U.S. coins had featured abstract images, no actual people. But Lincoln was different. A national hero. A symbol of unity, resilience, and leadership. So it only made sense that his image would become one of the most enduring in U.S. coinage. Fast forward to 1957. America is buzzing with optimism. Rock and roll is sweeping the nation, gas costs just $0.25 a gallon, and families are crowding around black and white TVs. But behind the scenes, something quiet and powerful is happening at the U.S. Mint. That year, the mints in Philadelphia and Denver produced over 1 billion pennies. That's right, 1 billion with a B. Most of them were spent and forgotten. But not all. Let's break it down. If your 1957 penny has no letter under the date, it was struck in Philadelphia. If it has a small d under the date, it came from the Denver Mint. These are the mint marks, and while both versions were mass-produced, it's the fine details that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. On the obverse, you've got the portrait of Lincoln, facing right. He's been on the penny for decades, but in 1957, he still holds a quiet dignity. You'll see, "In God We Trust," arched above his head, "Liberty" on the left, and the date, 1957, to the right. The small mint mark, if present, sits just below the year. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted with that beautiful, balanced wheat design, 2 stylized stalks framing the bold, 1 cent, and United States of America. Tucked above is the phrase, "E pluribus unum," out of many, one. It's a timeless design, and by 1957, it was near the end of its run. Just 2 years later, in 1959, the reverse would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. That makes the 1957 penny one of the last to carry the classic wheat reverse, a fact that already gives it added historical appeal. But let's get to the heart of the story. Why would a 1957 penny, of which there are so many, be worth more than just a few cents. The first factor is condition. Most of these coins circulated for years. They've been through pockets, piggy banks, and parking meters. They're scratched, dulled, or worn down to smooth copper. But a small number were preserved from the moment they were minted. These coins are what collectors call mint state. That means they've never been touched, scratched, or circulated. They still shine with that original reddish copper glow, and the details are crisp and flawless. Now, combine that pristine condition with the second factor, mint errors. Sometimes, something goes wrong at the mint. A die might strike the coin twice, slightly off-center. Or the date might be imprinted with a shadow, creating what's known as a double die. The mint mark might be stamped more than once. Those are called repunched mint marks. And occasionally, a coin is even struck on the wrong type of metal planchet. These aren't everyday occurrences. They're rare. They're unexpected. And that's what makes them so exciting to collectors. A 1957 D penny with a strong doubling on the date or lettering? That's not just a penny. That's a conversation piece. That's a museum-worthy mistake. And then there's I appeal, the third and often underrated factor. Even among mint state coins, some just look better. They glow. They pop. Their color is even, their strike is strong, and they practically demand attention. These are the coins that make collectors' jaws drop. Now imagine all of those qualities coming together. A 1957 wheat penny from the Denver Mint. Full red luster. No circulation marks. Sharp strike. And to top it all off, a bold mint error that makes it completely unique. That's not just rare. That's remarkable, and it's coins like that, coins that are perfect storms of condition, error, and beauty, that attract serious attention at auctions. Collectors compete. Bids soar. And what started as a 1-cent coin transforms into a piece of American history with a value no one could have imagined when it was minted. So, how high can the value really go? Well, while your average 1957 wheat penny might only bring in a few cents to a few dollars depending on condition, the rarest and finest examples, those few coins that have been perfectly preserved and feature significant minting errors, can reach a jaw-dropping value. In one verified and incredible case, a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny with rare characteristics sold for an astonishing total of $78,000. That's right. One penny. $78,000. So the next time you find yourself holding a 1957 penny, don't just toss it aside. Hold it up to the light. Look for that mint mark. Examine the details. Check the shine. Because hidden in that small piece of copper might be a piece of history, and maybe even a small fortune. Today, we're going deep into the story of a coin that might just be sitting in your collection or lying forgotten in an old drawer. This isn't just any coin. This is the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny. It might look small and simple, but this humble 1-cent piece carries decades of American history, rare secrets, and in some cases, a value that will leave you completely speechless. Let's rewind the clock to 1945. The world was changing fast. The Second World War was coming to an end. Soldiers were returning home. Families were rebuilding. There was hope, relief, and a new era on the horizon. While major world events were unfolding, the U.S. Mint quietly struck millions of Lincoln pennies for everyday use. People used them to buy bread, newspapers, and war bonds. But unknowingly, the Mint also released a few versions of this penny that would go on to become rare treasures in the world of numismatics. At first glance, the 1945 Lincoln penny might not look like much. But that's exactly what makes it so incredible. Its true value hides in plain sight. Let's start with the design. On the front, or obverse side, you'll see Abraham Lincoln, his iconic profile facing right. Above his head is the national motto, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 1945. Now, look just below the date. You might see a small letter there, either a D or an S. That's the mint mark, and it tells us where the coin was made. A D stands for Denver. An S means it was minted in San Francisco. If there's no mint mark, the coin came from the Philadelphia Mint. Each of these mint facilities had different production runs, and over time, certain batches have become far rarer than others. Now turn the coin over, and you'll find the classic reverse design. Two elegant stalks of wheat curve upward along the edges of the coin. Between them sit the bold words, 1 cent and United States of America. And above it all is the timeless Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. It's a simple design, but one that has stood the test of time and captured the imagination of collectors for generations. So, why would a penny from 1945 be worth more than just a cent? Let's talk about three powerful factors: condition, mint errors, and collector demand. First up, condition. Most 1945 pennies were heavily circulated. They lived rough lives, clanging in pockets and cash registers, passed between thousands of hands. Over time, they lost their luster, their details faded, and they became the coppery brown pennies you see every day. But every so often, one surfaces in mint state, a coin that was never used, never touched, and still looks almost exactly as it did the day it left the mint. Collectors call these uncirculated coins, and when they're graded at a high level, like MS 65, MS 67, or even higher, their value can climb dramatically. The luster, color, and fine detail in these coins can transform them from pocket change into investment pieces. Next, we have mint errors, and this is where things get really exciting. In the fast-paced world of coin production, mistakes happen. And in 1945, a few rare errors slipped through quality control. Some coins were struck off-center. Others show signs of doubling, where the date or letters look slightly shadowed or doubled. These are called double dies, and they're highly prized. There are also repunched mint marks, where a mint worker manually punched the mint mark into the die more than once, causing it to appear slightly misaligned or doubled on the coin. These kinds of errors were unintentional, but they created unique coins that are now incredibly rare. Some 1945 pennies have also been found struck on incorrect planchets, meaning the blank used to make the coin was the wrong metal. Imagine a penny struck on a silver dime blank. It looks different, feels different, and to collectors, it's pure gold, figuratively speaking. Lastly, there's collector demand. The Wheat Penny series is one of the most beloved coin series in American history. Collectors worldwide are still trying to complete their Wheat Penny sets, and a rare or pristine 1945 penny is a key target. The combination of historical importance, the final years of the wheat reverse, and minting quirks make this coin incredibly appealing. Now imagine this: you're digging through a box of old coins. You come across a 1945 penny. At first glance, you think, just another wheat cent. But then you take a closer look. The details are razor sharp. The color is rich and red, like it just left the press. You flip it and see a perfectly struck D mint mark. You spot a small, subtle doubling in the date, something most people would miss. You send it to a grading service. It comes back certified at a top-tier mint state grade, with a confirmed double die error. Suddenly, that 1 cent coin becomes something else entirely. It becomes a rare, beautiful, and highly sought-after piece of history. And when it hits the auction block, collectors notice. The bidding heats up. The price rises, and eventually, that single 1945 wheat penny sells for a staggering total of $91,000. Yes, you heard that right. One penny. Worth $91,000. So, before you dismiss that little copper coin from the past, take another look. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Look for sharp details, unusual markings, and rich, original color. Because that penny in your hand might be worth far more than you ever imagined. Today, we're uncovering the fascinating story behind one of America's most iconic small coins, the 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny. At first glance, it might seem like just another penny, but when you look a little closer, especially at those tiny mint marks, you'll find that this humble coin holds a world of history and surprises. And if you're lucky enough to own one in exceptional condition, it could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Let's start with a bit of background. The Lincoln wheat penny, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, quickly became a beloved staple in American currency. The reverse side, featuring the iconic wheat stalks, remained unchanged until 1958, making these pennies a favorite for collectors who appreciate the blend of history and artistry. Now, 1949 was an interesting year in the story of the Lincoln penny. The world was still rebuilding from the aftermath of World War II. America was entering a period of growth and optimism, and even the pennies reflected that spirit. That year, the U.S. Mint struck millions of pennies across 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint marks are crucial here. If you find a tiny D just below the date, it means your penny came from the Denver Mint. An S means San Francisco, and no mint mark means Philadelphia. While all 3 produced large quantities, the specific mint marks, and even slight variations in their striking, can make a significant difference in a coin's value. The 1949 Lincoln wheat penny is often overlooked because many of them were made, but here's where the story gets intriguing. The condition of the coin and any unique minting quirks can dramatically increase its worth. Most pennies from that era have been heavily circulated and show signs of wear, but coins preserved in pristine, mint condition with full luster are extremely rare. Collectors prize these mint-state coins because they represent a snapshot frozen in time, a piece of history preserved perfectly. In addition to condition, some 1949 pennies have fascinating errors that make them stand out. These might include double die errors, where parts of the design appear duplicated due to a misaligned die, or repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was stamped more than once, creating a doubled or shadowed effect. Such errors are often invisible to the casual eye but can turn a simple penny into a numismatic treasure. Now, why are these factors important? Because the rarity of these pristine or error coins, combined with high demand from collectors trying to complete their wheat penny collections, drives the market price up, sometimes dramatically. So, how valuable can a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark really be? While everyday examples might only be worth a few cents or dollars, the most exceptional specimens can command prices that seem almost unbelievable for a 1-cent coin. In fact, one of the finest known 1949 Lincoln wheat pennies, featuring a clear mint mark, impeccable condition, and sought-after characteristics, has been valued at a staggering total of $84,000. That's right. A single penny, once just pocket change, now worth $84,000. So, next time you come across a 1949 Lincoln wheat penny, don't overlook it. Examine that mint mark carefully, assess its condition, and consider having it professionally graded if it looks special. You might just be holding a small coin with a massive story and incredible value. If you enjoyed learning about this fascinating piece of American numismatic history, please hit the like button, subscribe for more amazing coin discoveries, and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on treasure lurking in your own pocket. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting.